fantabulous world of Extra Tug, full of educational and children-friendly content. That's definitely what this is, so come on in. It's only $4 a month, and it's a lot of fun perks. Chris, why would you put that on the screen? You're ruining it. You're ruining it for everybody. Happy 250th birthday, America. We've officially hit MILF status. Motherland that I want to frolic in. We're having sex with Purple Mountain Majesty up in this piece. That's right, 2026 is the 250th anniversary of America declaring independence from the toothless bandits who ran the world for a little bit. And we're making sure everyone's
they really did.
The party. Ain't that right, Marudo? We kidnapped someone else's president. I'm scared. I
wouldn't really call it a kidnapping. I'd call it more of a relocation, a strategic relocation of somebody that didn't look too fondly on his own people, is what I would call it. But also, I mean, he's got that shit on him, though. Looking like Dr. Disrespect. That sucks for him. Hey, look. Notice how we didn't do this to any other El Presidente. You want to know why? Because they're not doing that shit.
Terrified. I didn't know we could do that. I mispronounced
we could.
Maduro. I don't know how to say. I still know. I'm reading it. I don't know how to say it. That's on me. Sorry. I'm not following the story because it's making me scared. And by the way, 250 years
business remains, but exactly.
Semi-quincentennial. And now that we've all learned a fun fact, this video is now seen by the algorithm as educational, which makes me richer and a liar. Now, because we are Americans, we love yanking our own chains. It's what we're known for. And because of that, there's going to be a lot of hoopla over this next year. We're talking fireworks. We're talking potlucks. I think we're even planning a classy UFC fight on the White House lawn. Poor people fighting for the entertainment of the billionaire class. My goodness, this bread is so yummy, and this circus isn't half bad. Now, a lot of this patriotic sizzle will peak around July 4th, but I wanted to get it started today, on the most important day of the year, Martin Luther King Jr. Day Eve. That way, when those red, white, and blue fireworks fly, you'll know the origin story of the U.S., which is one full of...
Also, did anyone else forget about MLK Day? I did. I was like, I know I'm like not supposed to, being a black dude and all, but like I completely forgot about it. And everyone's like, it's a holiday. I'm like, what holiday? And like MLK Day, and I literally was like, who the fuck is it? I was like, oh, right, right. And I forgot. The dude that's named after all the terrible streets in like every fucking terrible city. That's so unfortunate how that happened.
Of myths, tall tales, and outright lies. They were fibbing to us the whole time. It's a big Tug video. You thought we were
the government lies? Never. The government would never do that. Oh, God. It's unfortunately what they're really good at.
Through this without being hyperbolically anti-American? I love riling up the patriots. I love getting them angry enough to comment, and it gives me algorithm bait. It's perfect. But I'm not like being a dick for the sake of being a dick. I mean, there's been a lot of lies taught to us as children in this United States of America. Your history teacher lied to you. Your parents lied to you. The government lied to you?
All the time.
I can't believe it. But today,
they're really good at that for some reason.
Here. Kinda. I mean, you guys know me. I sometimes I lie sometimes, but not on purpose. I lie because I am bad at research.
I forgot what's holidays. Well, I'm hoping Don Lemon gets arrested today for that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be great. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like they should throw the book at him. But like also at the same time, I'm not even really a religious person. I used to be because, you know, that's how I was raised or whatever. But the fact you did that's kind of fucking insane. Like, look, I might not agree with a lot of the things in the religion, but I'm not going to go to their house, their area, and just do shit like that. That's just wild to me. But also, I feel like it'd be interesting if he was the first black person to be hit with that shit. I think that'd be hilarious. Oh yeah, it'd be great.
Not because I'm trying to spread misinformation, which I don't know if that's better. That might be worse, honestly. But disclaimers of stupidity out of the way. Tuglets, grab your fire extinguishers because Lady Liberty is a liar with her pants on fire. Or her skirt. Why is she wearing sandals? And what's that silly little hat she's wearing? Why does she wear a little crown? Is she from the Bible times? I don't get it.
Well, she's from France, so...
So if
actually, speaking of which, you want to know something that I heard the other day? Some people from France that are on Twitter were like, we should take back the Statue of Liberty, and it's like, come and fucking take it. Like I would love to see the logistics of how you would get that done. I don't think you understand, my boy. I don't think you understand. America, all right, our military is so good that we can drop a Burger King anywhere on the planet within 24 hours. Now, why can we do that? Who the fuck cares? But can we do that? Yes. And has it been done before? Yes. Actually insane shit.
that America's history is full of misinformation, you don't have to look far. America started writing its own fictitious lore.
Oh, wait, actually, speaking of which, I just...
Is she from the Bible times? I don't get it.
Where was it? Where was that picture?
So if you're looking for proof that...
This boy, George Washington, homeboy, crossed the Delaware. He actually crossed it 3 times, which I thought was hilarious. The motherfucker crossed his bitch 3 different times and still won. Also, it's interesting that they always show white hair, because he had red hair, apparently. Apparently that motherfucker had red hair, standing at 6'2" with fucking sheep teeth or some bullshit like that. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I'm relatively tall myself, but if I see a redhead with sheep teeth walking at me with a gun, I'm leaving. I'm just fucking leaving, bro. Like, I'm not fucking dealing with that.
America's history is full of misinformation. You don't have to look far. America started writing its own fictitious lore right off the jump. If Wattpad was around in the 1500s, America would be the #1 tag, right behind plague, sex. I don't know. A good example of this is the explorer who, quote unquote, discovered America, Christopher Columbus. You might remember that little poem from elementary school that goes in 1592, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. 1492. I was pretty close. And there's
close
some
enough.
stuff that happens later in that poem, but no one remembers that stuff because who the hell cares? The Santa Pinta Mantaria boats, I don't care. But that's technically all you need to remember because that's the only part true about Columbus's journey that we were ever taught. Everything else, lies. Italian-American boulder dash. Bing bong. Italian Americans proudly view Columbus as an Italian explorer, but there's just one problem. He couldn't have been an Italian because Italy wasn't a goddamn country yet. It became a country in 1861. So, whoops. Should have checked the globe before spouting off who discovered this big rock we're living on. Oh! He was born in Genoa, which is a port city in what is now known as modern-day Italy. But I hate to break it to you, it doesn't count, brother. That's like calling the Neanderthals that they found in France French. Like, that doesn't make sense. Except it kind of makes sense because the French people look and smell like cavemen. Hey-o! Another zinger against the French. Chris, put it on the counter. The French counter. But the thing is, Columbus didn't even stick around in Genoa. Like that, he was there briefly. He left at a young age and established himself in Portugal, in Spain. He was an Iberian, for Christ's sakes. An Iberian! And while it's true that Columbus did think that the earth was round, literally everyone else did at that point in history. He wasn't on the cutting edge of this knowledge. There's a pun there. There's a pun there about flat earth. Oh, God, I can't do it. I think comedy is good enough.
I mean, you definitely could.
Just acknowledge a joke is there and don't actually make a joke. You know what I'm saying? Comedy is easy. But round earthen was a very well-established fact by the 15th century, which goes to show just how incredibly stupid anyone after the 15th century would have to be to believe that the earth isn't round. I'm not going to get into it because that would take up the rest of this video. Oh, wow, actually, this is weird. It says later in life, Columbus changed his mind about the earth being round. So he was fucking stupid.
Oh, he's a fucking retard. Now, I don't know if he's going to go into it, but at one point, what was it? He was somewhere in the Indies, I believe, and he was trying to sail back to, I believe it was Spain. I'm not exactly sure. One of those countries where we don't care about because we're American. And so he didn't have enough food. So he ended up going to the locals in that area and was like, you need to give us food so we can go back. And the people that were there at the time only made enough food for them to survive the winter. So you want to know what this man did? Because he knew what was going to happen in the celestial bodies of the planet. And at that time, there was going to be some sort of eclipse that would turn the moon red. So what he said was, I'm going to curse you people if you do not left. And we have no idea what happened to the tribe of people that was there. That was it. He did that. Also, he fucked the manatee. Like, that might not even be legit, but that does sound like something someone back in that time would do. Because remember, they're stupid. They don't believe in washing their hands. So, let's be real here.
However, he didn't think it was flat. That would be silly. No, he actually thought the earth was pear-shaped with a nipple at the top being the Garden of Eden. I love that a brief time on this earth was you were able to believe in science and also a little bit of magic. I think we should bring that back. I think that's fantastic. All that being said, this guy wasn't even the first asshole that discovered America. That happened about 500 years earlier when Norse explorer Leif Erikson first set foot on North American soil. So he didn't discover...
Hey, if I get outsmart you, it's your fault. Valid. It's fair enough. Can't argue with that.
Anything new. He didn't even know he landed on a continent, and he thought the Earth had a nipple. And we gave this guy a fucking holiday. And listen, I get being mad about celebrating Columbus Day. We probably shouldn't do it, but let's just take the 3-day holiday and focus on the bigger issues right now. Let's not take this away from us. Let's celebrate it in our own way, but let's not take the day away, because holy shit, I love taking a Monday off. Or Friday, I don't know what day it falls on. Now, the Spanish and English tried and failed to build settlements in North America during the 1500s, but they finally cracked the code in 1607 when Jamestown became the first permanent English settlement. But how did those savvy Jamestown colonists find out how to survive when no one else could do it? Was it Squanto and Sacagawea teaching them to put fish in the ground to grow plants? No, it was cannibalism. They ate people. I bet you weren't taught that. Cannibalism was the talk of the town.
Interestingly enough, I wasn't necessarily taught that, but I did go look into it, because when you're in Virginia and you are a kid, chances are, for a field trip that you have for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, you go to Jamestown to learn a bunch of shit. But at that time, we had the internet, so we were able to look. And a lot of shit that happened, through a lot of disease, through the winter and whatnot, and them not having food and not being able to grow anything because they're fucking dumb. They ate people. So, surprise, surprise. Who would have thought? A bunch of old people dying of poop cough fucking ate people. Who would have thought?
Pilgrim life. During a particularly rough winter in 1609, the starving settlers started digging up the dead bodies and eating them. You guys weren't even eating the fresh dead bodies? You were digging up the old ones?
That's crazy.
Listen, cannibalism is cannibalism. I'm not going to judge, but I feel like fresh meat would be better. I don't know. So this isn't a lie per se, but I just wanted it out in the open that the creation of America was partially fueled by consuming human flesh. Now, to avoid the unsavory conversation about self-preservation in the early times of this country, school children are introduced to English settlers with the second permanent colony, Plymouth. New England,
hey,
baby.
Yo,
Let's go
on.
look at a rock permanent colony.
Hold on, this bitch dead. This is an interesting picture. This bitch look dead as hell. Also, why are we looking at this nigga cop in the field? I mean, granted, she's dead. She's not using them, but like, what the fuck are we doing here?
New England, baby. Let's go look at a rock for a field trip. Dunkin' Donuts, D'Angelo's, Papagino's. Plymouth's residents came over on the Mayflower and were told they sailed to the New World to escape religious persecution. AKA the British were too ungodly because they were having sex once a year, and our ancestors were like, that's awful and gay. We're gonna leave. And while it's true,
see what he does. See what he fails to mention is that having sex with women is gay because you're having sex with someone who likes men, and men have penises. That's gay. Of course, they would know that. They would know. It's just normal famine. Yeah, pretty much. See, this is why having sex with men, this is why the Romans had it right. Having sex with men is the manliest thing you can do because it involves no women and it's also with other men. See, he just doesn't understand. He just doesn't understand. These people here, they just don't understand. When they started inviting women to their orgies back in the Roman times, that's when everything went downhill. That's why Rome fell, if you didn't know. That's why it fell.
For that reason, they didn't set sail for America. The Pilgrims first escaped to the Dutch city of Leiden, where they were completely free to ditch all the obnoxious Catholic vibes and practice their weenie brand of Christianity. It wasn't until 12 years after they achieved religious freedom that they left for America to escape poverty. Turns out there's no money in being a bunch of prude assholes and making everyone around you hate you. Not only were the Pilgrims fiscally motivated to move, but they weren't even that big on the whole religious tolerance thing. But wow, that's so weird. The first Americans wanted religious freedoms for themselves, but they also wanted to judge every other religion freely? Whoa!
Oi, oi,
shocking.
Oi.
Colored me.
That might be just a religion thing. Hey. That's what it is. It's what happened. I don't make the rules. I just look at what they did and judge.
Shocked. So, a lot of lies so far, but at least we know they landed on this big, beautiful Plymouth Rock, because that rock is there, and we like to talk about it a lot. Right? Wrong. That's a lie. Why is that rock even existing? They landed on the shore of Plymouth, but there's no historical record of Plymouth Rock until 121 years later. The rock is at this point, which coincidentally
maybe, you never know.
Well for the story of Thanksgiving. I think we all kind of know this one's bullshit at this point. Turns out our picturesque version of Turkey Day is pretty different from the actual event. Sure, there was a big old meal in the fall, but this was nothing new at the time. Indigenous and English cultures both already had meals and ceremonies that revolved around the harvest. And this wasn't even the first time the groups came together for a meal. It wasn't like a big kumbaya powwow. Just a few months earlier, the Wampanoag and the English had signed a peace treaty, so it, they can share a meal. This wasn't big news. And because of their new peace treaty signing, they didn't even think this was like a friendly get-together. It was more of like a discussion over like logistics and politics. They were going over who owned the pigs around Lake Chugagagaga, Manchugagagaga, Chibungamungamog. It really wasn't anything besides that. That's actually a real lake in Massachusetts. Did you know that? Lake Chugagagaga, Manchugagagaga, Chibungamungamog? That's a real lake. You can look it up.
I thought he just had a stroke, brother. What are you talking about? Interestingly enough, I love how the names back then, I wonder how long it took them to do that. There are a lot of like Indian names that you just would never think about. Like in Wisconsin, for instance, there's a place called Sheboygan. Apparently that's Native American. You could have told me that and I just would have assumed that the person that named it was just violently retarded as he was making the name. But fair enough.
It's a Webster. Oh, and the evidence suggests that they didn't even eat turkey. So what the They ate deer and geese and maybe some mashed up pumpkins. They completely ignored the turkey, which is crazy because turkeys are such big birds with so much meat and they're everywhere in Massachusetts. So they're just being lazy. It's hard to kill a bird. All right, so the Pilgrims were massive liars. But you know which American figure wasn't a liar historically and anecdotally? George Washington. Georgie Dub. God damn it, just hearing his name gets me all jazzed up. I want to get hammered and drive a speedboat and put a kid on a tube behind it and almost kill him.
I too am hard.
But lying, it was the opposite. That it was against his whole ethos. That's what George Washington was all about, telling the truth. I'm sure most of us were taught in school that a young George Washington received a hatchet and used it to cut down a cherry tree. And when his father confronted him about it, he said, "Father, I cannot tell a lie." And yeah, that's not a true story, but whatever. Now, telling a lie about a story about not lying is a little... But it's a fairy tale. You know, it's a parable. You know, we didn't know.
Possibly. I have no idea. I don't think I've seen turkey vultures. I don't think I've ever seen like an actual wild turkey. Probably not.
Actually believe that, right? Actually, it was a lie told by a minister, which I guess is pretty common, actually. Mason Weems, or Wems, fabricated this story for his 1806 edition of his George Washington biography. And sadly, gang, that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to old George Washington lying, because there's a lot of that shit. I want to love him so much because he's so cool and weird, but we botched this one, gang. We it hard. For one, lots of what we were taught about his appearance was absolutely wrong. You know that white wig he's always depicted as wearing? Never wore one. Never wore one once. He just put a bunch of powder in his hair to give it that dapper 18th century wig look, but no wig. Which was a weird move, like a mentally ill move, even for the time. And you know how he had wooden teeth? That's not true. It's actually way worse. Way unbelievably worse than that. He had several sets of dentures in his life, but they were made out of pretty much everything except wood, including human, cow, and horse teeth. But where did those human teeth come from, you ask?
Slaves.
Question, I wouldn't have asked it. Well, they either came from poor people who sold them to dentists for a quick buck, which, holy, that's disgusting. Or slaves, which is equally, not even equally, way worse than that other one. And it was mostly slaves. He owned slaves.
Yeah, I mean, that's not like a surprise. It's weird when people talk about it. They're just like, yeah, George Washington owned slaves. Yeah, it's like literally everyone back then owned slaves. That's not really a surprise, bro. Like, come on now. Also, communism.
And remember, this was before anesthetic, so he was
ripping them out
of people's heads, fully awake, fully just no numbing, unless they were pulling them from dead bodies, which also, oh my god. But also, in the grand scheme of things, looks don't really matter, right, gang? Or owning slaves. Sorry, I'm trying to make this work. What matters is that George Washington was a winner on the battlefield. He was out there making moves, shooting redcoats, pow, pow, pow. Oh wait, actually, it says here that he was rarely victorious and lost way more battles than he won, especially early on.
Yes, he did.
Dude, that's like the one thing I have left of him. Me. I guess it's a good thing that
Yeah, I was about to say, his track record wasn't really all that great. In fact, one of the reasons that he ended up crossing the Delaware was because this was like their last-ditch effort before the Continental Army that he had ended up running out of actual time. Because they were conscripted for, I think it was like 2 years or something like that. And then after the 2 years, they would just go home. So, and then during that time, when he had them, it just literally defeat after defeat after defeat. So the part of him not wanting to have that happen led to them crossing the Delaware 3 different times. So it's interesting how everything comes together. When you actually learn about it, it's like, oh, okay. Wow. I mean, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. Also, I mean, if it's George Washington. Remember, he's like 6'2" at a time where everyone's like 5'5". It'd be like some dude who's like 6'10" walking up to you with some pliers being like, you got some nice teeth. You wouldn't mind if I had them, would you? It's like, I mean, I kind of do, but like, what am I really to say to this? Like, I don't have a gun yet. Well, not that they know of. You know what I mean? So like, let's try to figure this out. Let's figure out a way that you can leave here with teeth that aren't mine. All right? Yeah. How about we do that?
To popular belief, we had a lot of help during the American Revolution. In addition to guns and money, the French sent about 12,000 soldiers to fight, plus tens of thousands of naval personnel on dozens of ships.
They did?
Maybe I've been too hard on the French. No. It's the French who are wrong. It's always the French who are wrong. Okay, well, maybe Washington wasn't fully responsible for winning the revolution, but he did have a big hand into shaping what the ethos of America would become. While visiting Philadelphia in 1776, he asked Betsy Ross to sew the first American flag. Excellent. He formed the first American aesthetic. Old Georgie tastemaker is what they called him. Oh, god damn it. No, that's a myth. That's a myth. God damn it. In 1873, Ross's grandson made the claim, and Harper's Magazine just ran that story. However, all evidence points to Francis Hopkinson as the real designer of the American flag. And we have the receipts to prove it. In 1780, he billed Congress for his work, and his fee was actually a quarter cask of wine, which the American government refused to pay. That's as American as it gets. But
the American government right there.
Man's work, not on my watch, not on my watch, not in this great country. But I know what you're all thinking right now. Who the f is Francis Hopkinson? And who is that man? Well, it might shock you to hear this, but Hopkinson is one of America's founding fathers, which sounds really special and exclusive. I mean, we only got like 5 of them, right? Well, no, actually,
like
the
20-something?
opposite. There were a shit ton of American founding fathers. We just don't hear about all of them. Basically, it turns out the term founding father is really vague. For founding fathers, here's the list of A-listers that we were taught about in school, but depending on how broadly the term is applied, anyone who signed the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, or the Bill of Rights could get the title. You didn't even have to sign all of them, just one of them, and then you'd become a founding father, which is crazy.
Hell yeah.
Considering that 55 people attended the Constitutional Convention, that's a butt ton of smelly dudes in a hot room. Hell, not everyone in attendance even signed the damn thing. They were just looky-loos. And this includes one of the most famous founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson. This guy's on our money. What the hell was he doing during while everyone else was working hard writing the Constitution? He was just sitting there, finger popping his butthole. Oh, actually, he wasn't even there. He was hanging out in the most un-American country in the world, fucking France. I knew it. I knew that I was right about them. They took Thomas Jefferson away from being really important and writing the Declaration of Independence. Maybe that's why we put him on the goofy-ass $2 bill. It wasn't good enough. Also, did you know they still make $2 bills, but they don't print as many of them, and also people think they're rare, so they hoard them so they look even more rare, but they still make them. Did you know that? That's
and they're kind of nice. And I think I have like 2 or 3 of them myself. I think. Other than I make you a founding father. Yeah, I mean, hey, I don't know. 'Cause there's a lot of different shit that apparently has happened that we haven't been told about. And the stuff that we have been told about is either this is what we're saying it is, but then when you really look into it, it's like, it isn't necessarily like that, but I mean, close enough, right? It isn't like anyone's really going to care, right? At least I kind of didn't. I mean, at this point, like, what are we going to do? Go back and rewrite history? Well, we could. I just don't care enough to do it. But I mean, yeah, no, fair enough.
I thought that was fun. But it turns out that only 6 founding fathers signed both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And of those 6, there is only one household name, Benjamin Franklin. And we're going to talk about him today. He is so horny. We're about to talk about the horniest founding father. That's right.
I'm glad we're talking about him because he's incredibly horny. I would have thought the ones that put their hand in. You know, that's true. We could. I think it would be kind of nice. What was it? Ben Franklin, though. Yeah, homeboy. And I don't know if it was like, I'm pretty sure it was a letter that he got from some lady that was like, hey, yo, come over. I'm trying to smash, right? That's what she said. She was like, but they said it in like their weird way of speaking back then. And Benjamin Franklin was like, nah, we're not going to do that. Let's wait for the summer so the nights are longer. Like, that's crazy. This boy was a dog. This man had his hand in everyone. Okay, not on everyone, in everyone. Yeah, as I say, he wrote a book on how to get bitches back in the day, bro. And it's crazy because if you read some of this shit he said, some of the shit he's saying back then is people are saying now. That's the craziest shit about it.
2026, we're ditching the old communism in every video.
He's a dog.
About Benjamin Franklin in every video. Even though he's a founding father and a freaking colonial sheets, Ben Franklin is probably best known as a prolific inventor. But if you think about it, his portfolio isn't that impressive when you think about how nothing was invented yet.
He was kind of
invented stuff yet, so he had a pretty easy time doing that. If you wanted to invent something nowadays, good luck. I mean, Temu makes everything that you wouldn't even want. Just sitting around your house like, is there a tool that would help you open up pistachios when they're too closed off and there's no crack? There is? Okay, we're out. That's everything. That's literally everyone's invented everything. But back in the day, you could invent practically anything and it would probably be useful and life-changing. What I'm saying is Benjamin Franklin definitely ran up the score. But some of his most celebrated inventions aren't even his, by the way. Like the odometer, streetlights, volunteer fire departments, and daylight saving time. But let me extend a big you to whoever actually did invent daylight savings time.
True.
An awful, awful bad thing. I hate you so much. Now, he did sort of create the first library, but it wasn't really a library like we know today. It was a subscription model. And legend has it, he also invented catheters, but you'd be surprised to learn that he didn't do that as well. However, he did make catheters flexible, which... Why did it take Benjamin Franklin to come up with that idea? We were sticking rods in our wangs? Jesus Christ.
Actually, I mean, back in the day, what was it? What venereal disease that you got in your penis that made you... Well, I mean, all of them are bad. All of them are bad. Let's be real here. But one of the ways that back a day that you would get rid. I'm pretty sure it was the clap, and the reason it was given the clap, the name the clap. And I hope this is true because I've read it in a couple places, but they were like this was more of like a tale and less of like an actual thing. But apparently, you would put your wiener on a board, correct? And someone would take another board and whack it together, and that would expel the pus and whatnot that is in your wiener. Yeah. Advice to a young man on choices of mistress. Mistress, not wife. No. Yeah. There's literally something he said in a book. Based as fuck. He's that guy. He's that guy. And now, since we know that we're assuming that this is what he looks like, I want to go back in time and see what he actually looks like. And I want to see how he got bitches. I'm not going to lie to you. I have to see how he did it. Because I wouldn't be surprised if it was almost the exact same way.
Biggest lie of all isn't an invention or even his illegitimate child, but his kite experiment. I personally blame the US education system here for dumbing everything down, but many adults still believe that Franklin discovered electricity, which is just plain wrong. Ancient Greeks observed static electricity all the way back in 600 BCE. Electricity was always a well-known entity on this earth.
That's the name of the book. Oh, dude, I'm gonna have to look up that book.
Static electricity, one, but also like lightning strikes, you're like, no one look into that. I have no need to learn about that. And all this drama about the kite getting hit by lightning, total BS. Obviously, that would have electrocuted the kite. All Franklin did was pick up ambient electricity, proving that lightning was electric. Which, no shit. You don't need to fly a kite in a lightning storm to prove that, you goddamn moron. And
well, hold on. Back in the day, they probably did, because they still believed the humor things, where your body has 4 different types of humors in it, and if they're out of whack, apparently you get sick. And that was one of the reasons why George Washington died. Motherfucker had a fucking cold, and they were just like, well, it turns out you have too much blood, so they bloodlet the dude while having a cold, so he died. So like, I'm not surprised they didn't know that. I'm not surprised they know how they did that.
Actually, that had already been figured out by a French.
Wait, hold on. I went to go look up this book real quick. The overview. In 1745, Benjamin Franklin wrote the satirical yet practical letter advising a young man. Okay, this is apparently to one man. I thought it was just to everybody to choose an older woman as a mistress over a younger one. His primary argument was the older woman offered better conversation, more experience, greater discretion. Greater discretion, you say, okay, and immense gratitude. However, he strongly advised marriage as the better option. Really? Did he really? Homeboy's a fucking dog. But well, okay, then sure.
Physicist Thomas, whatever the a month earlier. So not only is this a lie, it is the most boring story in the world. Benjamin Franklin flew a kite. That's the long and short of it. Okay, so I'll admit it. A lot of these lies are just misconceptions or myths. I understand that. I'm having fun. Don't get mad at me. Of course, I know that these legends aren't part of a grand conspiracy. They're just part of human need to tell a story. And any invention or false memory that makes the story better usually sticks. However, that's not to say America hasn't had its fair share of hustlers, con artists, and flat-out liars. In fact, we've had some real doozies in our time, and I'd like to talk about them. Let's honor our best and worst Americans with a Mount Rushmore of American liars. Let's talk about it.
So Epstein's on there, right?
Into the rock
oh, Nixon,
37th president, Richard Nixon. You know someone's a real good old huckster when their nickname is Tricky Dick. How did that man become president with a nickname like that? Nixon fed public a bunch of lies about the dangers of the devil's lettuce to justify starting a war on drugs, even though he knew full well that it wasn't as dangerous.
Want to know what's crazy? I'm a part of the war on drugs, on the side of the drugs. So, drugs are great.
As he claimed.
In moderation, of course.
He also lied and said he wasn't bombing Cambodia during the Vietnam War, even though he definitely was. It's absolutely insane that Nixon thought he would get away with bombing an entire nation for a full year just by saying it wasn't happening, but this was before the internet, so maybe it could have worked. I don't know. And then there's Watergate, a scandal that involved people from Nixon's camp stealing Democratic files. It was a Bush League robbery that happened at a hotel, and Nixon denied it hard. He even persuaded his aides to commit perjury. But eventually it became undeniable that he was involved, especially since Nixon was paranoid and recorded every conversation he had in the Oval Office. And one of these tapes actually caught Nixon discussing using the CIA to block the FBI's investigation. I mean, holy shit, dude. You were knowingly recording yourself. What did you think was gonna happen with these? Nixon denied and lied for as long as he could, but after the smoking gun tape came out, he had no choice but to resign. And people think he's the worst president, but I don't know. I don't know at this point. Now, the next person on this list is such a liar and piece of shit that there's an entire con artist scheme made around him. I'm talking about the one and only Charles Ponzi. Even before he began his infamous scheme, Ponzi was hustling. After arriving in America from Italy in
I wonder if he's going to talk about the dude that made Mormonism. Women were women at the time, fair enough.
1903.
What's that dude's name? What's that dude's name? Dude that made Mormonism. John Smith?
As a dishwasher, working his way to a waiter before being fired for stealing from the restaurant and its customers. A few years later, he got caught forging signatures on checks and was sent to prison for 3 whole years. But whereas most people might rethink their life once they got out of the slammer, when Ponzi was
yeah, there he is. Joseph Smith Jr. Yeah, that's the dude who made Mormonism. Or, actually, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to talk about fucking... What's that other one? Scientology or some bullshit like that.
Jumped right back into shady dealings, this time allegedly smuggling illegal immigrants across the border. And even back then, people didn't like that, thrown in jail again. Easy peasy. So at this point, it's clear that Ponzi chose a life of crime. He didn't give a f. Jail was pretty easy for him. And in 1920, he finally hit on his big idea, postal coupons. Yes, it sounds unbelievably underwhelming, but he made a whole meal of this shit. Ponzi promised investors huge returns, 50% in just 40 5 days by exploiting price differences between Europe and America.
Fuck, my mic was... John Browning. I just realized my mic was fucking muted. John Browning. John Moses Browning. Dude who made the gun. That guy. He was cool with it before they were cool with it. They're just going back to doing the scheme again.
With the money from new investors. In the course of just 1 year, he defrauded investors over $20 million, which is so much money in the time he was doing this. $300 million to be exact. I just did the math. Of course, another stint in prison couldn't keep down the old pawns, and in 1925, he tried to get in on the Florida land boom by selling tiny slivers of unusable swampland, promising a 200% return in 60 days. He got caught, and he got sent right back to prison. This man does not learn. After he was released, Ponzi was finally deported.
What exactly is prison back then? You know what I mean? Like, you can't... Prison... Like... yeah, he went to prison. What, for like 6 days, bro? Like, what the fuck's going on here?
To Italy, and his final words to reporters were, "I went looking for trouble, and I found it." Put it on my gravestone. That's a hard-ass quote for a
That's kind of hard.
Bad man. And finally, let's end it on a seemingly silly one. P.T. Barnum. Have you heard of the name? Given the nature of his work, it's no surprise.
This dude. Oh, God, what is it? I saw the musical that was after him that had fucking Hugh Jackman in it, too. He was just a piece of shit. Like, he's probably going to go over it. But there was something in particular where I remember that. I don't know if he was going to go into it, where he had a black woman on display, I think. Something where he took a black woman and did something yada 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 bad thing. I don't know.
That P.T. Barnum makes the cut as an all-time great American liar. Aside from singing with way too much vibrato, put that on the screen, being a hustling, over-exaggerating windbag was just part of the showman shtick in the 19th century, and was a skill he would eventually use to create the iconic Ringling Bros and Barnum and Bailey circus. In fact, all this blustering fanfare seems to be the most celebrated part of this man's entire career. We love a good carnival barker. Come see, come see. I can't do a good impression of those guys, but especially this guy who had like a great rags to riches story. But some of his lies were pretty insane, even for the time. Barnum began his first showman career in 1835, purchasing and exhibiting a blind, paralyzed slave named Joyce Heath. That's immediately the saddest.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yes. He did that shit. Just like the New York Zoo at one point had black people on display. Yep. They were doing that type of shit.
Thing I've ever heard in my life. Slavery was illegal in New York at this point, but Barnum exploited a loophole, allowing him to lease Heath for a year for $1,000. Sorry, I didn't know it was going to get way sadder. I thought, okay. So not only was he essentially breaking the law, but he was lying to the public about Heath's history. Might be Heth. I don't know. I should look this up. I should respect this man, because, man. But Barnum wanted to get a little... Oh my God, is it a woman?
It's a woman.
Man? Damn, it's a woman.
Yeah,
Barnum claimed she was George Washington's 161-year-old former nurse. And whether people actually believed him or not, they all came in droves to see Heth with their own eyes. When the popularity of her attraction died down, Barnum created more drama by spreading the rumor that she wasn't even a human at all, but instead a mechanical imitation. Oh my God, he's such a bad person. And this drew out more eyes, because human beings are disgusting creatures. And Barnum couldn't leave it at that. He even squeezed a few pennies out of her fucking death. Heth passed away in February of 1836, and Barnum had her autopsy performed to the public to prove her age, stage, and over 1,500 people showed up for 50 cents a ticket. When the doctor performed the autopsy, claimed she was only 80, Barnum planted a story in the New York Herald that said the body autopsied hadn't been Het's. And of course, this is just one of the many awful and terrible lies and hoaxes, of course, across Barnum's entire career. To the point where I can't finish a video that's not so f***ing sad. He claimed to have a real mermaid exhibit, but it was just the head of a torso of a baby monkey sewn onto a fishtail and covered with paper mache. And in 1843, he claimed to have shipped a wild buffalo all the way from New Mexico to the East Coast and said there was going to be an exhibit for them for free. But he didn't have a buffalo from New Mexico. Instead, he cut a deal with a ferry operator bringing people to the exhibit. That way, he got a cut of every ride. This spirit was all part of the somewhat delusional but highly effective MO of Barnum, who he himself said, "I don't believe in duping the public, but I believe in first attracting them and then pleasing them." You're a fucking huge piece of shit, dude. I don't know what to tell you. I can't.
Not gonna lie, that sounds kind of gay too. A little bit. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but back in the day, I mean, what do you mean by pleasing? I mean, okay, I get it, but like, maybe it's because I am who I am, but pleasing the public like that? Okay, pleasing them with lies? Well, what else are you doing? What else are you doing?
I can't believe I'm already out of time. I was going to talk about the Civil War and the Great Depression, but I guess American history is just too full of many lies for one video. Let me know if you want me to do a sequel in the comments down below full of even more super sad and really bad lies. Or you can yell at me and tell me I should go to get deported for besmirching the great name of this country and making fun of Lady Liberty's skirt. Thank you for watching. New videos every Saturday and sometimes Wednesday. Like, comment, and subscribe, and shout out the extra Tuglets. $4 a month. You guys heard me do this speech a billion times, but maybe this is your first time watching. $4 a month, you get 4 videos a month. Completely different from these ones, and I talk about dirty stuff, and sometimes Satan shows up and he talks shit, and also you get your name at the end of the video and you get to support me. Look at all these names. They can't all be wrong. That's a Big Tug promise. Thank you so much for watching. God bless America. Have a good one. Bye-bye.